doesn't mean that views is welcome by everybody. If you're buying for own stay, I would say please go for 2 bath.
Should I avoid low floor and units with no views?
Right.
Now, this is a very commonly asked question because when we do new launches or when we basically serve buyers for resale condos, we normally hear this very common request from buyers: I don't want low floor unit. I want a nice view. Now, understandably so, as human beings, right, we all want something high floor because typically when you have high floor, you have nice views. If you have low floor, you have sometimes no views. For me personally, there's a lot of things to consider. First of all is the pricing. From an investor's point of view, just purely looking at numbers, it always makes sense to go in as low as possible. Sometimes when you enter very low, right, the chances of you making that profit is a lot more higher. Maybe you can help me rephrase that.
I think what Manuel is trying to say is that price is the same. Of course, I go for high floor and top views,
definitely.
But it comes to the pure economic consideration. I think it's back to the same question. Are you buying for own stay or for investment?
Yes.
If you're buying for own stay and you really like high floors, you like good views, then that one is the amount cannot be quantified. So for own stay, it's really subjective to your personal preference and your pocket and the budget. If you can afford a sea view and makes your wife happy and that's your wife's smile is worth $1 million, then go for it. Strictly from investment point of view, a tenant will not pay you much higher or even higher for higher floors or good views. I think if you give this tenant same price, 10th floor and 2nd floor, I think he'll say thank you very much. But say, oh sorry, my 10th floor, I want to add $50 more. I tell you, he might not be willing to pay you for the $50 more.
Yes.
Because tenants' budget are very sensitive. So for investment, it's okay to go for low floors or no views. Why are low floors so-called shunned by most buyers? Other than the personal preference, I think to me there's this misconception from old schools. That's my own personal take. Like because from the old HDB days, right, even for now, HDB 2nd floor are being shunned because 2nd floor you're just directly linked to the garbage bin, the one that you throw the chute, you open up and throw. So the smell and the cockroach might come up. So 2nd floor is kind of shunned by HDB owners. And also there's this void deck issue. For those HDB with void decks, right, there will be kids playing soccer, there will be a lot of funerals or some things below, so there'll be noise. So there's a real effect why people don't like 2nd floor in HDB. But when it comes to private condo, unlikely there'll be a void deck or people having funeral or any noise making activities on the 1st floor. But it because a lot of people cross over from HDB to private. So this low floor noise is an issue. Second, some condos have this pneumatic sewage system. That means, right, when you throw in the garbage, right, the actually acts like vacuum cleaner. It sucks your rubbish all the way to a central system. The smell are being eradicated. So I would say that this is some old school biasness that people don't like 2nd floor. But other than the fact that low floor got less views, that's true. But it's more the HDB crossover effect that created this issue also.
And sometimes, Dennis, don't forget that sometimes for low floor units, you actually enjoy the landscaping view.
Yes.
Especially when since we're talking about private condos. And sometimes, maybe even the pool views actually. Because when we are talking about pool views, right, people always have the misconception that, I have a pool view unit, I must go level 5 and above. Right. But when you go level 5 and above, you realize that you don't actually see the pool. Sometimes you may actually end up looking at the unit directly across your unit, and you end up paying a premium for the pool view unit, but yet you don't enjoy the pool view at all.
Views, generally speaking, it could be swimming pool views, unblocked views or sea views. These are the common so-called good views.
Yes.
But from our experience, there are also a sizable portion of buyers, right, who don't like swimming pool views. Why? They like the views, but they don't like the sound. Because during weekends, the kids will be shouting. Without owners who doesn't like kids' noises, likely singles or double income with no kids. So they appreciate quietness. So they might opt for a unit that's with greenery, facing greenery or no views at all. Doesn't mean that views is welcome by everybody. As I mentioned, if I buy for own stay, go for a preference, go for whatever you like. For investment, low floor or no views, they might not be very important factors. Especially if your budget is constrained, then go for those without low floor. Go for low floors or views. Because usually these are the units that will be priced as a star buy. Star buy means you got discount.
Yes.
So you got discount, you already have a head start against other fellow owners when it comes to reselling in future.
Okay, so next we have the 1 bedroom versus 2 bedroom. which is better for
I
investment?
think as a rule of thumb, safer to buy the smaller bedroom than the bigger bedrooms when you buy for investment.
Yes.
One is because quantum is smaller, so less risk. Second is that it's easier to rent out the smaller bedrooms. Because in my opinion, 2 bedroom is the best in terms of investment. Because in the Chinese, right, it's called 进可攻退可守. 2 bedroom potentially sell to small family or couples
Yes.
for own stay. 2 bedroom can also sell to investors who intend to rent out. For 1 bedroom, it's purely likely it's more for renter. So if you have the sum of money or you have the budget, 2 bedroom will be the best. 3 bedroom, not saying that 3 bedroom or 4 bedroom is not good for investment, but when you buy a 3 or 4 bedroom, either it's because you like the place very much, or you intend to stay there for a period of time, say for 5-10 years, and upgrade, and you might be moving to other places, then you might want to rent out your 3 bedroom.
Yes.
So 1 to 2 bedroom is the best for investment.
Yes. So speaking about the sizes, Dennis, actually whether a 2 bedroom or 3 bedroom is more suitable for investment, you have to look at the area first.
Right.
So I'll give you a very good example. I'm sure most of you are very familiar with the Farrer Road area. That's where you will find the Empress Market, Gallop Gables,
Yep.
and so on, Spanish Village and so on. So this particular road or this particular district, Dennis, is actually very popular with the expats. The expats mainly come from the Western European countries, like from Germany, France, Italy, and so on. So generally, they favor big size condos. So meaning to say, if you were to go over there to buy a 2 bedroom, hoping for a good profile tenant, you might be a little bit disappointed because they tend to gravitate towards bigger units. However, on the flip side, if you were to look into an area like, let's say, Rangoon Road, for example. Now, Rangoon Road, I'm not sure if many of you know, it's actually a very small road. You can actually walk to Little India
Good
from
Bak Kut Teh
there.
there.
Good Bak Kut Teh there. And you can also walk to the CTT Square Mall and also the Farrer Park MRT station, not to be confused with Farrer Road. Those are two different places.
Right.
So over there, right, if you were to buy a 3 bedroom for investment, it may not be so ideal actually because the tenant profile there changes completely.
Yes.
The people who rent over there, right, they tend to be more of the couples and the singles, and they may not find the need to have a 3 bedroom. It might be a bit too excessive for them.
Yeah, right. If you're buying near international school, Stanford American School, and Australian International School in Lorong Chuan, Stanford American School is in near to the Bidadari, Woodley area
Woodley
itself.
area, yes.
For these schools, right, a lot of expats who like big units. So from what I know, right, bigger bedrooms like 4 to 5 bedrooms tend to get rented out easily.
Yes.
In areas where there are a lot of expat school, in international school itself. Yeah.
If you're not too sure about what is the likely tenant profile for that particular area, feel free to ask Dennis or myself, you know, if you're not very sure. Not only do we do sales, we do a lot of rental,
Yep.
do a lot of tenancies. So we generally understand the tenant profile makeup of that particular area.
Buy, sell, rent, look for us.
Yes, yes. But back to the question of 1 and 2 bedroom again. To put it very simply, if you can, if budget allows, go for the 2 bedroom. But don't forget, for the 2 bedroom, Dennis, there's also what we call the 2 bed 1 bath and the 2 bed 2 bath.
This is
Correct?
a newer trend that only appears in the last 3 to 5 years.
Yes, yes.
So a lot of people ask, hey Dennis, should I be buying a 2 bed 1 bath or buying a 2 bed 2 bath?
What do you prefer, Dennis?
A very simple answer to this question is that it's back to the same old question that I always like to ask. Is it buying for own stay or buying for investment? If you're buying for own stay, I would say please go for 2 bed 2 bath. For those people who have young kids going to school, it's going to be a very tough time fighting for toilets when you are going to leave the home at the same time.
Yes, yes.
So 2 bed 1 bath might be a bit time squeeze for when you are fighting for one toilet. But when it comes for investment, that means I'm renting out to someone, my tenant will stay. Doesn't matter to me because I'm not the one trying to fight for a toilet. So as a landlord, purely speaking from the economic point of view, 2 bed 1 bath, I save on 100k on the toilet. I'm not being inconvenienced by one toilet less. I'll go for a 2 bed 1 bath.
Yes.
But if you have the budget, you want a more regular one day, you say, hey, 2 bed 2 bath might be easier to sell because it's more regular. So that was also okay, but it's more of the budget issue. When I show a lot of buyers at a new show flat, right, we start from 1 bedroom. Sometimes we will sway to the 2 bedroom. Sometimes we'll even sway all the way to a 5 bedroom. The bigger the better, of course, but common problem is the budget is constrained.
Yes.
If budget is not a problem, go for the GCB, then landed on the 5 bedroom.
Yes.
But the fact is that because we are all constrained by budget constraints,
Yes.
so go with your means.
Yes.
If budget is not an issue, 2 bed 2 bath with an enclosed kitchen will be best. Because enclosed kitchen you can still sell to older parents who might like to cook right? Because enclosed kitchen is easier for people who like to cook and put a lot of their containers
Sure.
down. But if budget is a constraint, I'm okay with 2 bed 1 bath. If budget is still a constraint, I don't mind a 1 bath study. If it still is a constraint, I don't mind a 1 bedroom. Because to me, investing in a new launch with a potential for profit is better than not investing in a sense. Yeah.
Yes.
Bear in mind that if you look at the master plan of Singapore and all the so-called during the election, a lot of debate about are we going to have 6.5 or 6.9 million population. If you look at all the studies and stats, I did a lot of thorough study. Singapore government is trying to aim for 6.5 to 6.9 million population in order to sustain the overall economy to be continue growing. So assuming it's a lower spectrum, 6.5 million, let's say. So now, after the COVID, I think the last report I read was about 5.6 million. There's a lot of expats left already. Assuming it's 5.5 million. From 5.5 million to the lower spectrum of 6.5 million, if there's going to be an incremental of 1 million population, what do you think is going to happen to the property price? By the year 2030, 1 million incremental in population size. Do you think, given the limited land, would the property price increase or decrease? That's for you to answer.
Yes.
So a private property has a lot of leeways for you to play around. And it's not speculation. You have to work hard. You buy a house, pay 5% cash, the rest 15%, 20% is on CPF. Max loan is 75%. You still have to work hard to pay for that mortgage.
Yes.
It's not a fun thing. It's not a speculation. Right? You
A
have to
lot of
work
homework
hard.
involved
Yeah.
actually. Yeah.
Back to 1 bedroom. I think 1 bedroom with this post-COVID trend, right? I find that as the trend of working from home starts to grow, I think 1 bedroom will become more relevant because 1 bedroom could become your own office. Just imagine you're young, maybe a executive or a young white collar. So I think if I can afford a 1 bedroom where I can double up as my own stay and for my own office work from there, because sometimes it might be quite disturbing if staying with family and you got kids running around. If work at home scheme is going to grow, 1 bedroom could be a perfect place for startup or people who are in their own profession for own stay. Even YouTubers can have their own studio.
Yeah.
Right? Anything to add?
Other than choosing 1 or 2 bedrooms, always look at the other factors, the macro factors I would like to say, like the location attributes. Then if everything crosses your checkbox, 1 or 2 bedroom actually is fine for investment actually.
Right.